My name is Margaret Stoll. I am a best-selling author in 50 countries. I've had a book made into a movie. I've sold a lot of books. I've visited a million countries, and I am so depressed. Sometimes I cannot get out of bed in the morning. I once climbed out of the window of a house because I thought someone was breaking into it. I had a panic attack at 4:15 in the morning 2 nights ago that no one was coming to this festival. I got out of bed and my husband said, "Where are you going?" And I said, "I don't know, I can't fix this." So I'm a train wreck, all right? I am a #1 New York Times best-selling train wreck. That is what I wanted to share with you next.
I'm a highly functioning depressive, which means I get my shit done, but then I generally tend to prefer to stay alone in a room being sad and with my cats. And if I could spend all my time like that, I would be very happy.
I'm Stephanie Perkins. I'm author of Anna the French Kiss, Alone in the Morning Store, I Live Happily Ever After, and the editor of My True Love Gave to Me, and Awesome Apology last year. You know, I have been diagnosed with and treated for the following. ADHD, obsessive compulsive disorder, severe depression, and anxiety and panic disorder. And my anxiety and panic are so severe that 9 out of the 10 events that I do every year, and I do a lot of them, I throw up before them. I've thrown up in more airports than you guys can ever imagine. All of the airports all across the country, I have thrown up.
You should make you a plaque. I'm primarily a depressive, so I've been diagnosed with, I've been in therapy since I was 15, and I have moderate, chronic, and intermittent severe depressive disorder. I've been hospitalized twice, once in my late teens and once in my kind of mid-20s. And I have the dubious honor of being told by my most current therapist that out of a 15-year career, I'm the only person he ever met that he did not think was going to survive when he met me. But I should say that the other thing I wanted to say in this panel is that, and literally, I mean, every single self-destructive thing that you can think of to do, I have done it, and often at the same time, because I'm also very productive. I'm multitasker, yeah. Anyway, but I also want to say, like I'm better, which is, I think, really important. I really did have a very hard road from about the age of 14 to 28, honestly. And it's not that I still don't get depressed, I do. I was just saying that my last favorite depressive episode involved me getting out of a cab in the middle of the winter in a city that I did not know and crying hysterically until my boyfriend came to find me on the street corner because I was curled up being like, "Nobody loves me, nobody loves me." So it happens, but at the same time, I'm also really happy by and large now. And when I'm not happy, I'm okay. So I also want to say that, like, things do improve, and it takes time and effort, and sometimes it's so dark you don't see that happening, but it does happen. I am living. So there, therapist.
And we want you to understand, because a lot of you want to write a book or think that it would be so great if you had your book published, and it would be great. All of those things are true. But we want you to understand that the chemicals of your own state of mind, you can't just change that because you want to. And that is not our only story. That is not the only thing that defines us. I am not just a basket case. So we want you to know that because we run with teens, and we respect teens, and we respect the reality of the teen experience, and we know that some of our hardest times were when we were in fact teens. And I have very clear memories of thinking, I can't imagine what my future will be like. I had a very religious family, and I couldn't imagine being one of them with their future. And I couldn't imagine being anything else because this was how my family was. And I thought, maybe I'm not going to have a future. Maybe I'm not going to make it because I can't imagine a future for myself. And that was the dark place I lived, where I thought I lived every day like it was my last day. Because I just wasn't that certain of how many days there were. And that was a dark, it's not like I'm gonna kill myself frame of mind. It's the, I don't think there are that many things for me. It's a hard thing to explain.
And anyone who ever knew me would have assumed that I was super confident, that nothing bothered me. But for me, nothing bothered me because if I let anything bother me, I would have completely fallen apart. So I was totally shut down. And I had a few close friends who knew, like I do now, who knew like all my dirt and how to cover up if I, felt too bad. But other than that, like I never once in my life thought about killing myself, because for me, that was never an option. Like my mom's entire life was wrapped up in me. Like I was the one who had to get the best grades. I was like the one in my family who wasn't dyslexic. I had to have straight A's. I had, there was no option. For me, that would have, like then what would have happened? I would have been, who knows, in purgatory feeling guilty. I don't need that forever. So I mostly just figured, this is the person I am. I need to suck it up and figure out how to like get through.
Growing up, I mentioned how just volatile and unstable my family was growing up. And when you're in that kind of environment, the best way to survive is not to attract attention to yourself, because so many other people had attention with therapists and doctors. And so I was kind of, not ignored, but I was looked upon as the good child, the one, you didn't have any problems. And I kind of just locked up and I didn't deal with anything. And it wasn't until my 20s and in college when suddenly like it all just kind of let loose, because there was no more pressure from the family to put on that good face and to be the good one. And it was very hard to cope with, and I'm not sure I have any good answers for how I survived. I mean, I was very upset. I had those days I didn't get out of bed. It was just terrible. And really how I find myself coping now is I think with age has come, I'm savvier with what is going to set me off. And I have a sense when I start to feel depressed or dark, I can say, okay, wait, is this coming from something outside or inside? It's normal, but there are times when I can just feel that it's like a pressure closing in, kind of a darkness in me, and I can step back and say, this is chemical, this is something, try not to freak out. And sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes it does, but that knowledge is very helpful. And being older, I can also control my environment a little better. When I was younger, in my teens and in my 20s, it seemed like my environment was controlling me. And I find that's extremely important to try to cut out what's stressing you. And sometimes you can't do it. Life does close in around you.
It'll be the shame spiral about it. It'll be the most innocuous stuff like, oh my God, when I said, that's good hummus, did so-and-so think that I actually was saying something like I was being ironic? Oh, that's good hummus. That's good hummus. Oh my God, now she hates me. And like, I imagine and then I'm like, boom, I am on the bullet train to the shame future. Standing alone, everybody hates you, they're all gonna laugh at you. It's scary, like, nobody knows. I mean, I go there, and it is insane. And it's like, how to stop that bullet train. And one of the things that I think, it's hard, because when we talk about this stuff too, there's a danger in glamorizing it. And believe me, I was the teenager who would listen to Pink Floyd over and over again. So you think you can tell? My pain, Roger Waters. And I would, like put on the eyeliner and be like, God, you're so pretty when you're depressed. So there's that aspect of it too, and I think we should all know. And so I kind of, because when you're really in a depressive episode, it is not glamorous, man. It is just painful. But I think that one of the things, and I think this piggybacks on what Lauren was saying, is about compassion and empathy. And if there's anything that comes out of having any of these sort of afflictions, it's the compassion and empathy that you feel for other human beings and how fragile we all are and how we're just trying to do the best that we can. And I think that is a lovely thing to develop, but it's a lovely thing to develop for yourself too. And it is hard, I think, just sometimes to just say, all right, man, this is just a bad moment. If I have to go play some music or let South Park save me or whatever it is, I'll do it, or I'll write it all down. I honestly believe that writing everything down when I was 18 saved my life. What you have to say is worthwhile, and what's inside you is worthwhile. So I hope that you can all find ways to get off that shame bullet train. I'm right there with you, holding on, going, I saw this thing, I saw this thing.
Yeah, I hope people will take away one important thing from all of us is that we've all talked about treatment and medication, because I think sometimes, especially people who want to be creative, are like, oh, it's going to stifle me if I go get help and treat this. And there was this really terrible book, and I wish I could remember the name that came out, that was advocating for why
remember what you're talking
that people with mental health issues should not be treated because it will stifle their creative spirit. And there's like some line like, oh, imagine if Sylvia Plath had taken Prozac, what would have happened?
She would be alive.
She'd be alive.
She'd be alive, still writing. Yeah, she would still be writing.
But how many of us are medicated to treat our own situation in some way? All right. So how many of us have at some point been to a therapist, like a licensed therapist? Okay. How many of us at some point have thought of ourselves as clinically, our state is clinical, like I'm clinically depressed or clinically, or learning disorder? Okay.
I'm very grateful for the last year. I've been healthy. I came out of about a 5-year period of a very, very serious depression that was very life-threatening. And you treat the most dangerous thing first, and so that was what we worked on first. And then you go down the line and you start treating those other things, a lot of which ADHD, OCD, anxiety are triggering that depression. But and part of that was figuring out my daily work schedule. So my first book was published in 2010. My second one was 2011. I was supposed to be a book year author, and my next one was not published until 2014. And that was because I lost all confidence. I lost the ability to work, to write. It was a really, really difficult, bleak time for me. And I'm really grateful now that I am kind of looking at each one of these individually, and I think that's a big key to becoming productive again. And a lot of that is going easy on yourself and forgiving yourself when something that works for someone else does not work for you. I had so much guilt and shame for years about not being able to do what my peers were doing. And so-and-so can work during these hours, so-and-so can do this, so-and-so can do that, and I felt like I couldn't do any of that. And so a lot of it was okay, well, what can I do? And breaking it down, like, well, what's kind of the maximum amount of hours that I can work? What's the time of days that I'm most productive? And I would pick one thing for a week, a Monday through Friday week, and I would focus on that one thing for the week and try it for a week and just see what the results were. Like my weeks, it comes from my dear friend Gail Foreman, who is also good friends with them. And in that period, very bleak period of time, when I would be talking on the phone with her and I would be saying all of these horrible things about myself, just nonstop, just spew. It was what was in my head, it was what was coming out of my mouth. She would stop me and she would say, Stephanie, stop being so mean to my friend Stephanie. And it was the first time that idea really got through to me. And it is that idea of would you talk to your friend that way? No. Would you be that hard on your friend if that thing had happened? No. And so that's a phrase that I've started using with other friends who are going through a hard time, and it's a phrase that I use on a daily basis when I feel myself started getting in that guilt and shame train. Just Stephanie, stop being so mean to Stephanie. And I think that's one that everyone here could
Okay.
For me, yoga, just to have an hour where I'm not thinking about myself and all the things that are wrong, and just thinking about how am I going to get through that pose.
Michelle. Downton Abbey marathon. Oh my God, television is like my only friend sometimes.
I mean, joking aside, it's a world that's not the one in your head for a while, and that's very useful.
Yeah.
Call a good friend to talk you down. Just Stephanie's talking about, just call a friend.
Making music.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say friends again because it's so important. Yeah, talking to friends.
Writing, no. I mean, I'd say running is huge, but also volunteering. That's a big one.